guys, thanks for stopping by. Don't have a project for you guys today, but I do have something to show you guys that I've just recently accomplished. And that is dust collection. I finally got dust collection, ductwork all run up in my shop. I have a dust collector all set up now, so it's really nice, and I kind of just want to show you guys my setup. The dust collection from my workshop pipes in the wall over there, goes up and up and up, and I decided to mount the pipe to the very top of the ceiling so as not to take up too much wall space down there, so I can push all my cabinets and tools right up against the wall. But anyways, if we turn left here, we get a drop right here by my router table, and it goes above, and I have a drop right there for my lathe, so this will be awfully handy for sanding. You just hook up a hose and go. And right now my setup for dust collection on the lathe is just this hose clamp here that I just clamp the hose off my dust collector into, so it kind of just sucks up right there. I am going to make something else so that it'll suck up a little more. And then I have a floor sweep right there, which is really convenient to have, real easy. And it goes over the top of the door. Right over there I have a drop right by my workbench for kind of sanding work, or I might move a tool there eventually in the future, I don't know. That's more of an extra drop. And I have another extra drop right there just in case anything ever gets moved there in the future. And if we move on, I have another drop right there by my mini lathe. That's nice. And a drop for my table saw. And I have a big 10-foot hose that goes underneath so I can pull out my table saw to the middle of my workshop if needed. And above the window and right there I have the drop for my bandsaw. This one was the most complicated of all the drops, and it's not even that complicated. I have the drop that comes down, the hose goes on, and I put a splitter in there because this bandsaw has two dust collection ports. And I have the one hooked up down there and another hose hooked up to the other one. And then it goes back to the spot where it's piped through the wall, and that's it. My dust collection system is a really simple one. It just runs around the room in a big circle with a total of 8 drops. There were a couple things I did, however, with my dust collection system that will be more convenient to have and just for me to be able to grow in the future. The first one is a floor sweep. It's right there, and that's really convenient to have. No more having to grab a shovel or a dustpan and try to sweep it up and empty it into a trash can. I can just take the broom and sweep my pile of shavings just underneath the floor sweep, and they suck it up and go out to the trash can. It's also convenient because that floor sweep is right next to my lathe, so any little chips that come off there, I can just sort of kick under there. The other thing is that I wanted room to grow with my dust collection system. I didn't just want to put drops for the tools that I already have. I don't know if I'll ever change the layout of my shop in the future. I really like it now, but let's say I get a new tool like a joiner or a planer or something like that, and I want to set it up permanently. I want to have a drop for that tool, so I put in 2 extra drops just in places where there aren't any tools hanging around. I know a lot of people will use metal piping instead of PVC piping because there is a concern about static in the pipe building up and possibly causing a fire. But metal piping is more expensive than PVC, so we went with PVC piping just because it's a lot easier to work with and it's much cheaper. There is a wire that goes around my shop just in case any static electricity does get built up. It'll have something to discharge into, so no worries about fires. Now, we were about to get PVC piping when we noticed another 4-inch piping that would work also right next to it, and that is this. This is a thin-walled pipe. It's just PVC piping, but it's got a much thinner wall, and it's got these weird little ridges. It looks a little different, but it's basically the same thing. It's a 4-inch diameter, and it is HDPE plastic. Now, we were going to get PVC piping, but we decided not to because this stuff is an entire $10 cheaper for one length of pipe. So you can't beat that, so we went with this stuff and it works just fine. As far as the actual pipe work, we have T's at every drop, so we can hang a drop down, and the drops come down to about the middle of my wall's height. And we didn't just want to run a hose directly from the ceiling because you could end up buying a lot more hose, it'd be a bit pricier, and pipe is much cheaper than a hose, so we ran it down just to about midway level. At the end of every drop in the wall, there is a blast gate, and that is so that I can cut off the airflow to that drop. The reason for these is the drop nearest the dust collector is going to have the strongest suction if you don't have blast gates, and the one opposite that drop, farthest away from the dust collector unit, is going to have just no suction at all. So the blast gates, or airflow controllers, whatever you want to call them, go into the end of each pipe. It's a nice snug fit. I kind of had to press them in there. And they have a gate that opens and closes. When you close it, it closes off the opening for the pipe, therefore cutting off suction. When you open it, it lets the air suck through it. So since these are at every single drop, I close them all off besides the one that I want to leave open for that tool, and therefore the suction will be much stronger at the one that's open. You can get blast gates at a lot of places for woodwork, because I know Rockler's got some really nice ones that are made out of steel, and even just the plastic ones are extremely nice, high quality blast gates. But when you want to be buying 9 or 10 of these things for your shop, the prices start getting a little high. You might be looking at as much as $20 for one blast gate. So, being the frugal woodworker that I am, I did the thing that any self-respecting man would do. I went to Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight sells these at $3 or $4 for one blast gate, and that's a pretty darn good price compared to everyone else's. They're not as high quality as, let's say, a steel blast gate, obviously, but they seem to work just fine, and I don't notice any problems with them right now. While I was at the Harbor Freight, I decided to buy their dust collection kit as well. That kit had lots of stuff in there, some of which was 10 of these hose clamps. Not your classic everyday hose clamp. These look a little different. They have a machine screw in there that tightens down with a driver. But these are really nice to have for connecting your pipes so they don't fall off of the fittings all the time. There were 2 blast gates in that kit, and I needed a lot more than 2, but it was nice to have them. There was a splitter, which I needed to hook up to my bandsaw because that has 2 dust collection ports. There was a dust hood for a table saw, and this thing goes underneath the table saw and kind of mounts on a hinge. At least that's what my table saw has, and the hose goes here. But I already have one of these hooked up to my table saw, so I think I'm going to use this one for my lathe to suck it up like a funnel so that all the dust will funnel into the hose. And of course it also had 2 10 feet long hoses, which was really good because I definitely need those. One of those 10-foot hoses is currently hooked up to my table saw, and I only needed a short amount of it because it's really close to the wall, but I decided to use the full length because I'll often pull my table saw into the center of my shop if I'm cutting down a big sheet of plywood, because I don't always just cut small pieces on a table saw. And sometimes I want to pull it out, and I want to use dust collection at those times too. The other 10-foot hose is hooked up to the drop for my bandsaw, and that is the one where I had to cut it somewhere in the middle, put the splitter on, then cut off 2 more lengths of it and hook those up to each end of the splitter because my bandsaw has 2 dust collection ports. I know there are some really nice things to hold the piping up on the wall. A lot of them look just like a shelf bracket with a very shallow kind of a curve in it to have the pipe kind of seat into nicely. And I was actually going to make a lot of those, but we ended up using this strapping with a bunch of holes in it, just a plastic strap with screw holes in it. So all we did was wrap it around the pipe and screw in both ends to the wall to sort of hold it up there, and that worked really well. My dust collector unit is the Harbor Freight 2 horsepower dust collector, and I actually modified it. And if you want to see how to do that, there will be a link in the description to my video. I made a couple of them on that, and both of those will be in the description. Or you can just visit my channel, and it should be a couple videos back, you'll see them. But what I basically did to my dust collector is turn it from a 1-stage to a 2-stage. So, in simpler words, any heavy chips that cannot be airborne, in other words, stuff that is not fine sandy dust, drops into a trash can before it goes to your impeller, and then only fine airborne dust will go into your bag. This is a lot more efficient for your impeller, and I don't have to empty out the bag hardly at all, and it's much easier to empty out the trash can. And that's about it for all the dust collection in my shop. I really want to show this to you guys. This is a really big step up for my workshop, and you know, it's finally starting to come together. It's been maybe 4 years. I've had this shop for 4 years now, and I finally feel like everything has just sort of fit together now. I have a really nice shop now, so I'm pretty happy with myself for this. And another thing we did with the dust collection project, just all in turn, was we also put the air compressor out in the shed that my dust collector is in, and we ran an air line out of PVC piping around my workshop and into my garage. Now, I'm not going to include that in this video, but if you would like to see it, maybe I'll make another video and show you guys what I did for that, and let me know in the comments if you would like to see that, because I'll make another video on it. One last thing, I'd like to thank all of you guys a million times over for subscribing to my channel. I just passed 500 subscribers. I'm really happy about that. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed and have watched me the past year or two that I've been posting videos. I really do appreciate it. And if you have not subscribed, shame on you. Subscribe to my channel. I post a couple times a week, and I'd love it if you guys did that for me. Let's see if we can get past 1,000. Alright, that's it for tonight, guys. And